So for today's lesson, we are going to try our best to make an oblique drawing of our CO2 car. And up to this point, we probably have made drawings. We might have even started building the car, right? You may have your cutouts, front view, top view. Your car may be in some form of process, or maybe you have already a multi-view drawing here. But for today, we are going to do our best to try to make an oblique drawing, which you'll understand in a minute. And the basics of it is, basically, we want to try to draw something that can represent it almost in a three-dimensional or an angled view, and do our best to show that, so we can show some coloring, some rendering, some different things, kind of look how the final product will be. Up to right now, our orthographic view, okay, does a really good job of telling us the information, right? When you look at something directly from the side, you can see exactly how long it is, exactly how tall it is, exactly where all the spacing is. When you look at it directly from the top, right, you can see exactly how long, right, exactly how wide. So this information is going to give us the truest depiction of what we need to build, and that's why we use this. Okay, that's what's so great about orthographics, because it's true view, it's true length, true height, true size. Everything about this is correct. But by showing it in multiple views, we can't really, unless you can do it in your mind, you can't really put those views together and make it three-dimensional. All right, some of you may be able to do that in your mind. So for today, what we're going to try to do is give us multiple perspectives in one picture. Now, some of you may have imagined, and I'm going to use some easier shapes for this. Some of you may have imagined, right, you can have a cube and you can look at the front and the top and the right-hand side. But for some of you may have imagined, well, we've seen this in some ways, right? We've seen maybe an isometric drawing where you have something like this, where we've shown it that way. And obviously that makes sense on a cube. You kind of imagine the cube looking this way, right? But obviously this is very, very, very difficult to do. Sure, I'm sure we could all do a cube, but if you want to, you can practice it. Grab anything with some curves on it. Grab anything, I mean, there's just a little bit of curve on there, but grab anything like this and try to draw it all isometrically, and you'll realize it's very difficult to follow the curves. All right? Some of you may have seen some vanishing point things. Let's see, probably the most common drawing would be something like this, where you have some kind of picture of a box or a building or something like that, and you can see that all of the points vanish away to there, and you might see like a box over here, right? But still, you're skewing that outer view. Now, as acceptable as this may be to kind of give us a better picture of it, you're skewing the view. Everything's kind of retreating back to a point over here, wherever it may be. So you're showing kind of a decent view of the front, and then everything kind of angles back. They've also done this before. You might have seen this before with some multiple vanishing points, where you've seen people where they're drawing things and this kind of retreats back into there. I'm not doing a great job of showing you this, but obviously you've seen this, and you've seen sketches where people have created some different things like this. But the hardest part here, and I'm using the squared shape, the hardest parts is how are you going to cover some of those curves, right? How are you going to cover the curves and profiles and shapes of a car? There's a big difference between taking something like this that's very boxy and something like this that's very curved. So what we end up doing is we end up creating something that looks like an oblique. And the basics of an oblique is this. You can have a true front view, okay, a true front view, and then what we do is whatever we angle to go behind it, every angle ends up the same. So in this one, you're seeing that all these angles kind of change because they all work back to a point. In this one, all the degrees stay the same. But in this, and so these two are somewhat similar. So this would be an oblique. And basically what it says is, this would be a true view. So this would be a flat drawing of the front. And obviously when you look at the front, you can't see the sides. But we're going to pretend. Okay, we're going to pretend that we can see the top. And we're going to draw it like this. And whatever angle we make this, we make this. And we're going to pretend that we see the sides. So whatever angle this is, that is, and that is. And we're going to pretend that we can see that. So we're showing a true size here, and then we're showing a kind of a fairy tale of a sides back there. So we're actually showing the sides with showing the front flat. Now some people will make obliques this way. All right, some people will make obliques this way where they're angling the other way. They're all the same idea, which is true view, or a true shape on the front, and then showing the rest. And you can do the same thing with the circle as well. If you can imagine, say, for example, the wheel of your CO2 car, right? And all you would be doing is basically just tilting back that wheel and creating some type of angle here, where you could imagine a cylinder being there, where you're showing the shape of the front and you're showing the wheel out at an angle. So how the obliques on our car is going to work is this. You are going to go and get your cutouts that you've already created, right? Front view. The top view we're not going to need because that's the part that we're going to imagine. So we're going to get rid of this. We're going to do our best. And by the way, this can be a sketch for today because we're taking it easy. All right, and obviously we're fudging and guessing some of these dimensions and sizes as far as three-dimensionally. So if you take your front view, you put that on there as such, okay? This should be that true to size, okay? So this is reality. This is exactly how long and how tall it is. And then what we're going to do is, right, there's your reality. And what we're going to do is we're going to slant it back. You can slant it back to the right. You can slant it back to the left. You can have your car facing left or right. It doesn't matter. But whatever you slant here, you're going to slant there. So maybe I go this way. Maybe I go shorter, right? I'll slant this back, and I'll kind of slant all these points. And whatever angles I use here, the same angles that I'll use everywhere else. And then you're basically going to be retracing these same things, right? The other profile here, try to keep the same thickness. And as you can see, it's not an exact science, but you can see that I'm trying to match whatever profile I drew here. I'm trying to match the same profile there. You can see that maybe I want to make some adjustments here, but the idea is that we're pretending that we can see that. So maybe you would have a side window here on your car. Maybe you would have something cool like a windshield there, right? Same thing would be true here. If you wanted to put your wheel on the car, right? Obviously you're showing your car in 3D. You would want to show your wheel. You could say that your wheel is here, but actually your wheel would be sticking out a little bit like this. So even though it may look like your wheel is there, right, we can actually show it in 3-dimensionally like this. And then once again, using a circle template or using the sketch, we can kind of follow that curve again. And whatever angle you bring back, every angle of your drawing should be the same or very similar, right, in your sketch. So the idea is that we're kind of showing that at 3D. Now we can start talking about what's it going to look like up here. You're going to have a spoiler, you're going to have the sunroof, or you're going to have a window on the side. And you can start drawing in these features, whether they be headlights, the grill, right, whatever it may be. And you just keep using that same angle for whatever you may be. You can add a hood scoop or add whatever else you're going to end up making or creating to put on this car. So you're showing a true view of the front, and you're showing an angled back view of all the sides. So that's the basics of it. From there, after it's sketched out, we can work on coloring it, rendering it, different things. As you know, we can do stickers and things on the side. We've done windshield. We can do Sharpies, paint pens, whatever they may be. A few examples of some that I was able to dig out in my room today. So you can see this. You can see some angles. So you can see they choose a much wider. You can see how much further apart they made theirs. Right, so there's what be the multi-view of it. There's the oblique. So here's another one. You can see they angled things back that way. Some things there are confusing. Here's another one where they angled it out to the right, so you can see the gap that they created, but every angle there is the same. Here's another one. They didn't show the 3D of the wheels, but here's another one. Here's another one. You can see they did a good job of keeping things clean, nice and precise. So just spending that time making things nice, neat, and appropriate, but going through, using your cutout, and making a 3D view